Hey everybody, it's Pixel, and today we're going to be making a pretty easy but sounds really tasty dish called Drunken Meatballs. And for that, we're going to need 3 sections. First, we're going to need the gravy sauce, which is going to be salt and pepper, onions, flour, butter, a mild mustard, a dark beer like Guinness, which is what I'm using, baby bella mushrooms. For the meatballs, we're going to need breadcrumbs, pork and ground beef. I'm going to need an array of spices from thyme, parsley, salt, pepper. I put in a little sprinkle of my truffles I have. We're going to need oil for that, an egg, and last but not least, for the polenta, we're going to need ricotta cheese, chicken stock, Parmesan cheese, butter, and polenta. It says you could use grits, but I like polenta, and honestly they're about the same thing, but there's just something in, getting the real stuff that works. Also, I do believe we're going to be using some of that chicken stock in our sauce also, and I forgot to mention that. Alright, well, you know the drill. Let's get going. Okay, first we're going to throw together our meatballs, and that'll take about a half a cup, if not a little more, of our breadcrumbs. I'm going to be using veal personally. You can use beef, you can use whatever you want, but are going to be adding the meat to the bowl for our breadcrumbs. What's wrong? Okay, whatever. We'll be using our pork. Gotta love it when the stuff sticks to it. We're gonna add our 1 egg and our spices. And I'm gonna use my hands and mix that up for you, and we'll be back in a minute. And as our pan starts to get hot, we're going to be making them into little palm-sized balls to be made into the meatballs. Take another little section of those. Looks about right. And we're going to do that with almost all of this. If you make a few too many meatballs, they're totally safe to freeze. Put in some spaghetti or something. We'll see how many we have. So I'll be back in a minute. Meatballs are starting to cook up, and we are going to flip them each, just round about 2 or 3 times each to cook evenly. This will take a little while, obviously. They do not like flipping over, do they? Better get my tongs or something. There we go. Getting nice and brown. Alright, well, we're going to keep flipping these. I'll be back when they all have a nice brown coating on them. And once our meatballs are done, as you can see, I've already started taking them out, but we will be removing them from the pan. We're not going to need all that oil, so dispose of a little of it as much as you want, but we are going to keep the same pan to start making our sauce. Alright, once we've taken a little bit of that oil out, we're going to put some butter in. Going to put in our garlic, which I'm not sure if I mentioned or not, but we are going to need about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. Going to get some of our spices in there. And we're going to put our onions, which are supposed to be left in long, thin, half-moon pieces. Alright, we're going to let that cook up till they start softening, and I'll be back. Alright, one of the clips messed up, but we did end up putting our flour in of our butter and our onions. Next ingredient we got to add is our mushrooms, so they can start cooking down equally. Okay, we're going to want to turn up the heat on our sauce, and we're going to put in a cup of our chicken broth, and a cup of our dark beer. And I put the temperature up a little bit so that it'll start boiling and simmering down, and that flour will start turning it into a nice thick gravy. Alright, while that stuff is simmering down into a sauce, we're going to put in our polenta that we have cut up. Hold on a second. We're going to let that start cooking down. Doesn't matter if there's chunks in it. We're going to be putting in some stuff to smooth it out here soon. We'll work on it. Alright, I'm going to put in about a half a cup of our broth, so it too can start simmering together. We're probably going to give this about 5 or 10 minutes before we start adding in some of our cheese. That'll make it into a nice creamy polenta. Our sauce has started thickening up beautifully, but I want to give it some time for that beer to cook off and the meatballs to get added in now to simmer in it. So, as stated, we're going to add in the meatballs, put a tiny bit more sauce just to thin it out while it thickens up again and cooks for the last couple minutes. And I'll be right back. Okay, the polenta's starting to boil and simmer, and now would be a good time to add in our Parmesan cheese. And we're going to add in about a good cup of our ricotta cheese. Make sure that is all well mixed together. Last thing we're going to do is just add a little sprinkle of salt and pepper to that. Don't want to season it too highly, or we won't appreciate the meatballs in their sauce either. And we're pretty much almost done. Let's go check on those meatballs. I think look amazing. Gonna mix those up a little tiny bit. And the sauce is once again thickening up really well. I would say it is time to plate them up. 5 more minutes or so, and I'll be right back to try this out. Alright, comes the best part there is. Cut open those meatballs. Oh, look at that. It's cooked perfectly. This is up into a couple little bites. Grab a spoon. That'll be a little better to get some of our polenta. A little bit of everything. The meatballs, I think, are a tiny bit overcooked, but not by much, and the flavor's still there, and I love, love, love the sauce dash gravy. If you get a bite that has it all in there together, it's amazing. So, if you like what you saw, want some comments, have something you do different, have made something like it before, you know the drill. Give me a like, give me a comment, give me a share out. And I will see you in the next video. Later.